resilience. It's all about that ability to push through and continue in the face of adversity, right? Being able to thrive even in the face of adversity. And what that means is that to be resilient or to discover your self-resilience, you have to first be going through something before you realize that you are, you might be resilient or not. And so that obviously naturally comes with, maybe you might be feeling low self-confidence in that moment. You might be feeling, insecure in your life circumstances, whatever might be happening, whatever that adversity is. Or it could mean that you might even be afraid, right? But with resilience, I find that how it starts, or where it starts really, if we're talking about practicing internal self-resilience, it starts with yourself. I feel like resilience comes from a drive to survive, or a drive to succeed. And that has to start with having that mission or that goal that you are going to overcome whatever the circumstances are. So it means you have to be self-aware and you have to be self-driven. You have to be so aware of what your goal is or what it is you're trying to achieve that you don't allow your external circumstances to overcome you. That's what it means. And it doesn't mean that, being resilient doesn't mean that you are so strong that nothing, everything is like a water off your back, like a duck. No, it means you're probably going to face those adversities and it's probably going to hurt you inside, but you have that other goal, that bigger dream, something that's bigger that you're pushing for, and that's how you drive through it, you power through it. So for anybody who's listening and is thinking, how do you develop resilience in yourself? Just remember that it starts with remembering what your own personal goal is, what your own personal desire is, even if it just means you have just the instinct to survive. Even if that is all it is, just to survive this moment, just keep that in mind and that will push you through. Thank you very much. So far we've had basically women owning their femininity and standing in their own autonomy. We've had equal pay, and we've had just generally treating each other as equals. So when I was thinking about this particular question, I thought back to the theme of the reason why we're all here today, which is girls' vision for the future. So I've been making notes throughout the day of things that I find really important. And so I think to answer this question, what policies or initiatives can help us move closer to gender equality overall? I'll just borrow from my notes that I took earlier. So the theme really, Girls' Vision for the Future, is all about how we can support girls' and women's aspirations. And the first thing I've written there is to empower girls and to empower women. Secondly, to amplify our voices. And thirdly, to support our agency. So let me just break that down just a little bit. I know we don't have too much time. But in terms of empowering girls, what I wrote here was boosting self-esteem, and that starts from a very young age. So girls and boys, for parents, anyone who's a parent, it starts with boosting your girls' self-esteem, her own self-image, without feeling like she needs to be, validated by anybody else. I've also written about information. So I feel like for us to make decisions of ourselves, we have to be informed. And that's where we get our power, by making our own informed decisions. So there needs to be, each and every single one of us can do our bit in whatever our own, whatever we are skilled in, whatever our expertise is. Make sure you are giving out information and giving it to the people who really need it so they can make the informed decisions for themselves. I also wrote the awareness of opportunity. With information comes the building of awareness and communication. So again, to empower young women and to empower girls, we need to be training people on communication skills, interpersonal skills, presenting skills, storytelling skills, learning how to introduce themselves with pride in their own identity. These are all really important. And then in terms of amplifying girls' voices, I wrote down to provide opportunities for girls and women to be visible. So if they already have their voice by already, having self-esteem and making informed decisions and everything, now it's then up to each of us to also help to amplify their voices by sharing what they're saying, sharing what they're doing so people know about it, and providing opportunities for them to be visible to your network as well. And lastly, I wrote support their agency, and that just really means, I wrote supporting and praising the work of each girl or each woman. If you see a young girl, you see a woman doing really well, support them. Let them know that their initiative that they've taken is really important and they're doing a really good job at that. And supporting agency can also come in form of mentorship. So we know that mentorship is about mentoring and guiding people without necessarily giving the answer. And that enables each woman or each girl to retain their own agency of their own decisions and what they choose to do, either to themselves or their business or whatever their initiative is. Thank you. They were going around like did their budgeting, bought their ingredients, cooked the food at home on a very, very small budget. It wasn't until I realized afterwards, towards the end of the video, that the two girls had younger brothers, and those boys were just coming from school when the cooking had just finished. And I just thought, wow, these girls that the parents had were older than the boy, but they obviously made that decision to send the boy to school instead of the two girls. Keep them at home to learn how to cook and all the domestic affairs that go on at home. And it was just a stark reminder of how even if people don't really mean to, girl child is always just like, just like a second choice for some really important things. And so I just think, in a world where there is gender equality, those kind of decisions wouldn't have to be made. We'd have a lot more women in leadership. It would look at today, but just, way better.